Thank you, Chair. The live stream has begun. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Councillor Shaw, are you able to come on screen or not to be tested? No. Okay. All right. Hello, good evening and welcome. Can we have, I think you're going to read housekeeping for us first, please, Amy.
Yes, Chair, absolutely. May I remind everyone present, please, that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and that this recording is archived for future viewing. If a participant wishes to speak, can they please use the raise hand button in the bottom centre of their screen to notify the chair of their wish to speak. When invited to address by the chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. Please could all participants ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. Thank you, Chair. That concludes the housekeeping.
Good evening, everybody. Could I have apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chair. One apology via myself from Councillor Andy Gilligan of the Vale of Glamorgan.
Thank you. Minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of January, please. You've all got copies of that or access to it. Can I accept those as a true record, please? Councillor Hanks.
Happy to accept, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Wilson, I've got Councillor Perks there as well, please.
Happy to second, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Right. Okay. Item 3 then, receive declarations of interest and nature of such interests under the Code of Conduct. Do we have any of those, please? Amy?
No declarations to myself, Chair, but if I may, sorry, I just was remiss of me. I forgot to add the apologies for Councillor Cuddy from Penarth Town Council, Councillor Toker from St Athan Community Council, Councillor Corey from St George's and St Bride's Super Ely Community Council, Councillor Parry for Sully and Lavernock Community Council, and Councillor Bosworth for Welsh St Donats. Thank you.
Goodness. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so no declarations of interest then. So if we could move on to the South Wales Police Service, where we'll be having an update. I'm not sure if it's Inspector Childs this evening. It is indeed. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hand over to you.
Can you hear me okay, Chair?
Yep, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, just give you a brief update then of activity from South Wales Police over the last couple of months. Particularly March has been a productive month with engagements and operations, and I'll just give you a flavour of them. Throughout March, we've been running a drone operation, and that's mainly been targeting the antisocial behaviour of some Surons, which we've identified in various wards throughout the Barry area and also in the Roos area as well. And there's been an operation run concerning the use of drones to try and identify the users of these Surons and trying to house them in various locations. The operation, as I say, has been run for a number of weeks and it's a successful operation where we've developed a lot of intelligence and also identified some of the users of these Suron motorbikes. On one occasion, we've actually seized one Suron as part of the operation. So again, that's ongoing, and we hope to carry out further operations to detect the antisocial behaviour of Surons throughout April and the coming months. Barry MPT neighbourhood policing team have been engaged in plainclothes operations as well concerning auto crime offences that have taken place. We've had an increase in auto crime offences, theft from motor vehicles and theft of motor vehicles, which have taken place in the last couple of months in February and March. And as a result of that, some proactivity has taken place where a number of persons and subjects have been arrested and remanded in custody. So some success, but there's still a problem which has taken place in the last couple of months, and we're trying to make every effort to bring those numbers down, put some safeguarding and safety measures in place where the figures in terms of auto crime will come down. a recent drugs warrant we've executed in the Barry area in Provincial House, a job which took place in late March that saw £29,000 recovered in cash, and also a large amount of cocaine and cannabis recovered from the address as well, with the estimated street value of over £100,000. So a successful operation. Offenders were arrested on the day of the warrant. There was also a further offender who was the main player, who was arrested coming back into the UK from Egypt and recently arrested. He's been charged and remanded in custody and has pleaded guilty at the first opportunity the following day in Cardiff Magistrates Court. So he's due to be sentenced, likely to receive a strong custodial sentence in due course. Okay, further operations are planned. We're having a purge on drug investigations, and further operations and warrants are planned throughout the April period, and will also take place throughout the May period as well. Coming into the summer, we're working in partnership also as well with the Vale of Glamorgan Council and also with the other emergency services, Operation Elstree, which is run every year, which will provide extra officers to police the coastline throughout the summer period. We're expecting good weather this coming weekend. There will be extra officers on to safeguard the coastline throughout the period of the summer. Finally, the tragic accident I need to tell you about, which I'm sure the majority of you know, which has made the headlines on social media and press on the A48, a fatal accident that's taken place opposite the Aubrey Arms, where there's been a collision between a Ford Puma and also a lorry coming in the opposite direction. Sad circumstances with the occupants of the Ford Puma would have killed on impact with a lorry, and we are investigating that accident and also supporting the families of the deceased. So a very serious matter that took place on the A48. We're looking at CCTV and dashcam, and we're appealing to the public for further information. At this moment in time, the investigation sits with the Serious Accident and Collision Team of South Wales Police. But at this moment, tragically, it appears that it's driver error on behalf of the vehicle, and it's collided with the lorry. But the investigation still remains ongoing. So that's it from myself. I'd welcome any questions from the panel at all.
Thank you very much for that. Do we have questions, please? Okay, so Councillor Hadley, followed by Councillor Campbell, Councillor Helen Kane, and then Councillor Malcolm Phillips. Can we start with Councillor Hadley, please?
Right. Good evening. Our PSSO has not been attending our meetings of the Colwinston Community Council, and it's said that she doesn't have a car to come over to see us. Is that true?
No, there are vehicles available. It may be just on that occasion there wasn't a vehicle available to the police community support officer. I will make sure that there is representation at the meetings going forward. There should be representation there. The PCSO numbers throughout the Vale, they have gone down, and that's common knowledge, and they've also gone down in the Cardiff area as well, as a result of funding which has been withdrawn from the Welsh Government. So the numbers have slightly gone down, but we are looking to redisperse our resources. But certainly the meetings in Dennis Powers are important, and I'll make sure that we have representations going forward there.
Yeah, she hasn't been for the last 2, possibly 3 meetings, so we do like her to come along at least and discuss some of the issues in the village. So if you could perhaps get someone to come to the next meeting, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll make sure that there is representation at the next meeting. Have you got a date for me?
I have, yes. Shall I email you or something, or?
If you email me rather than staying further on the line here, by all means, probably best if we correspond an email, so we've got a written record of what's taken place, and I can respond to you.
Chair. 7 o'clock on the 28th of April.
Chair, just for information, Gareth, you mentioned Dennis Paris in your response. You meant Colwinston, didn't you?
Councillor Hadley is from Colwinston.
Colwinston, I beg your pardon. I thought it was Dennis Powers, I'm afraid. Okay, so the 28th, right, okay. So Colwinston, okay. Right, I'll make sure
Okay.
I get representation over to Colwinston. I'll make sure the relevant officer for that ward comes over to the next meeting on the 28th.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. If you could take your hand down then, please. Councillor Campbell.
Hi, Gareth. So it's good to see the work that's been done with the sewer runs, especially in Roos. As you're probably aware, we recently had a community-led meeting about these in which officers did attend, and they very much said to residents that they needed to report anything that was coming through to officers. So it's very good to see that there's work being done about this. One of the things that I'm still concerned about is something that I constantly bring up at these meetings is the fishing down on Roos Point. I know that Councillor Wilson is on this call as well, and every time that we have a report coming through, myself and my other councillors, we do pass it on to him and enforcement as well as officers to kind of investigate. I know there is the ongoing communications in regards to enforcement of the bylaws down on Roos Point, but obviously we are coming into the summer months now. We have got Operation Elstree coming back as well. But when officers are sitting in public meetings and saying there's only 2 officers covering 240 square miles, it kind of underestimates the extent of what's going to happen coming into the summer months in regards to the concerns that the community has. I know obviously we've got more officers that are coming in regards to Operation Elstree, but what kind of positives and what kind of, can't really think of the word at the moment, but what kind of enforcement can you give to residents that there is going to be something done, that we are going to be working in joint liaison between council, enforcement, councillors, officers to make sure that there is that proactive approach in regards to fishing down on Roos Point, in regards to the antisocial behaviour, the tombstoning and everything coming into the summer months?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do discuss the Roos Points regularly on the Elstree meetings, and it's obviously with the fishing and the tombstone and etc. It is more sort of seasonal, and that activity does increase over the summer period. So it's something we're aware of. We work in partnership with the Vale of Glamorgan Council. They have also officers, enforcement officers as well. There's a use of cameras as well, which we'll use to try and detect offences and vehicles, etc. Some of the persons are known to us who would involve particularly some of the fishing, and I've been spoken to previously. Sometimes it's guidance that we offer to them, but on persistent offenders, obviously enforcement takes place. So that's something will be looked at in the summer, as the weeks are coming, and that's something we will look at. And if there are persistent offences, by all means report it to South Wales Police, report it via 101. If there are persistent offences, and we can't always be there 24/7. That's a guarantee I can't give you, but it's certainly reactively on occasions we will look at it and look to chase up those inquiries and make sure that persistent offenders are dealt with, and we safeguard the area.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Gareth.
Hi.
I've had a few inquiries from corner shop owners relating to theft from shops. So what they're saying is the police aren't very receptive, and it's kind of like their livelihood. They work very hard. So I've told them to report everything. But they're saying the feedback that they're getting is that the police aren't going to do anything about it. So there's a lot of theft currently in the East End of Barry. A lot of the shops are being hit by lots of usual suspects. They've got video evidence as well. So what is the policy on that currently?
The policy should be reported to ourselves. It's a crime that we should take seriously. It's obviously, in terms of demand, it is one of the crimes that is at the lower scale of our demand. But acquisitive crime, shoplifting, it's important to us, and it's important particularly when we have known offenders. They are dealt with. So first thing is to report it.
Yeah.
And if you have CCTV identifying the offenders, that is important in the course of the correspondence as well. That is actually stated that CCTV is there, the offenders are caught on there, and we have an obligation to go and deal with it. So if there are difficulties, again, you have the panel has my email. If there are difficulties taking place with particular incidents, by all means write to myself, send myself an email, and I'll look at it. And if there is an areas where we can improve, then that's something I'll look into.
All right, Gareth, I can put you in touch with them anyway. I can tell them to email if that's all right with you.
Certainly, yes, by all means.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Phillips.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Gareth.
Good evening.
Yeah. Just a couple of things, Gareth. About 3 weeks ago, I held a residents' meeting in Dinas Powys. I am from Dinas Powys, so right this time, which was very positive. We'd had a lot of problems, antisocial behaviour on one of our housing estates, and 3 of your officers turned up at that residents' meeting. So some positives came from that. We are going to have a follow-up meeting shortly. And would you yourself join myself and councillors Anne Asprey and councillors Debbie Evans at the next meeting? Or if not, could you meet with myself and the other 2 councillors for a chat?
Certainly, I can't promise to attend the next meeting. I'll have to check to see what's in the diary. But if there is a space for me to attend, the likely answer is yes. But I can't give you a guarantee at the moment until I know the date of the next meeting. But again, if you want to send myself an email, I can either be there at the next meeting or I can meet you in person.
Yep, that'd be great. We recently had another robbery at our village shop, and I believe that there was a taxi involved with that. Have you got any further details on what's happening with the perpetrators of that? I believe they were arrested shortly after the incident. Is a stolen taxi that was involved?
There's obviously lots of crime that goes on throughout the Vale. That particular circumstances, I'm not aware of everything that's gone on there. You say a robbery, is it a shoplifting offence or involving a stolen taxi, or was it actual robbery itself where violence has been used?
Yeah, they stole the taxi and they broke into the shop. I'm not exactly sure did they confront the shop owner, but a substantial amount of property was stolen from there.
Right. That's something I'll look into, and it's good to hear that the offenders have been arrested from what you're telling me. I'll have to look at the specifics of it and get back to you, Mr. Phillips.
Okay. And the second point I'd like to, there's another housing estate at Killian Road. Now, I'm getting emails, and my colleague as well, Councillor Anne Asprey, we get these emails quite regularly, and it's concerning known offenders in the area riding on high-powered motorbikes around the estate. Now, I understand from the informant that he's contacted South Wales Police on numerous occasions, but he doesn't seem to get anywhere. I'm a bit concerned about that because there are a lot of young children in this particular area. I'm wondering if it's possible you could perhaps step up some patrols in the evenings.
Yeah, I'm aware of that email. I'm aware of the I think it's 2 brothers who've been mentioned. That has been passed on to my team. They are investigating as we speak, and it's collating evidence that they're involved in antisocial behaviour, whether that's through the CCTV or through residents who are prepared to contact us and make statements. The persons involved, we are going to visit them. They are youngsters, but I've asked my team obviously to look into can we seize the Suron motorbikes. what exactly is the circumstances and how many reports have been made and what enforcement we can take. But that's ongoing at the moment, Mr. Phillips. Perhaps that's something me and you can discuss going forward in the next meeting, whether I attend in person or whether we attend separately. But that's something I'll give you an update on very shortly.
Yeah, okay, thanks very much for that. Yes, if we can't attend the residents' meeting, if you could, we can arrange to meet myself and the 2 other councillors. We're keen to do that.
Okay, either one, I'll make sure I'm there for one of them, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just a few points. E-bikes in parks. It's been reported to me by Councillor Pam Drake about the use of an e-bike in Victoria Park in Barry. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. I just wondered, do we have any intelligence there as to what's going on? And obviously, I'm happy to work with you on that, being responsible for parks as well as part of my brief in part of my cabinet portfolio brief. Secondly, obviously, I'm also very concerned about the terrible accident that occurred in the A48. And I know that my highways team are working very well with South Wales Police on this matter. And obviously, if there's anything we could do to look at mitigation going forward, obviously we try and support you as much as we can, because obviously we do take these issues very seriously. And obviously we're welcome to have a conversation outside this meeting sometime in the near future to look at those issues. And the third point is, I just wondered perhaps if you could update the police website so we have all the relevant contact details for PCSOs and local police, because they don't seem to be there. And that would be very useful. So thank you, Gareth.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, my understanding the website has been updated, but that's something I'll check on. If there are some gaps there, I'll make sure that
I checked it today, and it was still an issue. It's still an issue. It's still not there.
Okay, I'll make sure that the personal numbers of the PCSOs are updated on there, and make sure that that's something that we'll address going forward. Okay, are you going to be there this coming Thursday? Is the meeting this?
Yes, I am. I'm going to be at the town council meeting. Yes, I am. That's my plan.
Okay. Well, maybe that's a conversation we can have concerning the accident on the A48. If you want to speak to me then, by all means.
Yeah, I'll probably speak to you outside that meeting, because obviously we talk about Penarth issues at that meeting. We obviously talk about the A48.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's very much part of the Western Vale. And obviously we can have a chat, but obviously I will be having a chat, probably your local police with my officers, or even bigger police, just to go forward, because I know that the MP and the AM has also written to me showing their concerns about these serious accidents. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Can we move on to Councillor Sykes, please? Councillor Sykes.
Councillor, if you could press the large activation button, please, in the bottom centre of your screen.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Gareth, we share the same PCSO as Colmston. We have exactly the same problems. Last month, I don't even believe we had a written report. Can you advise, please? Okay,
that's something I'll have to look into and come back to you. That's obviously disappointing. I'll make sure that that's addressed going forward, and we have better communication going forward.
Okay, just as anecdotal, I've sat on the council for 2 years. I've seen her twice. We do offer a virtual attendance, which we don't have any issue with, but we're not even getting written reports as updates. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Asbury.
Hi, Gareth. This is actually a comment and not a question. I think over the months, I think you might be a little bit fed up of my name. But tonight, I'd like to thank you, because the recent vandalism we had down in the local play area was actually followed through by the police, and we got a satisfactory result. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sykes, did you want to come back? If not, could you take your hand down, please? Councillor Jeffries.
Hi there, good evening. I'm just going to sort of repeat some of the questions really that a couple of the other councillors have brought up about our PCSO and the availability of her to come to our council meetings. I don't think I've ever had her attend one of the council meetings that I've been present at. We do, however, get the crime figures. We get numbers of, for instance, car thefts, break-ins, etc. And I think we've had recently an arson incident, but we don't actually get any elaboration on that. So I'm wondering, is it possible, if obviously we'd love to see our PCSO in person, so we could ask her questions, but if she's only allowed to give updates, is she allowed to elaborate on any of those? I mean, I think there was one recent sexual assault crime, and I think, you know, as a community in Landock, we kind of need to know, you know, some more details so that we can either, you know, protect who needs to be protected, or just sort of spread some advice of how to be more careful in case of, you know, repeat incidents.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Obviously the engagement is important. I'll have to chase that matter. It all depends on the circumstances of every crime. Sometimes things can be somewhat sensitive, so it can be appropriate for us to disclose exactly nature of allegations. And if an investigation is still ongoing and we have suspects in mind, then that's not quite in the public domain. So it depends on the circumstances of every crime. You know, the crime figures are important, and we can elaborate where we can, but on some occasions we can't. So it's getting that fine balance and making sure that you know, you are made aware whenever possible of the circumstances of the crimes. But yeah, I'll make sure that again there's some follow up here with different wards. I'll make sure that we go out and there's further engagements with yourselves.
Thank you. I mean, we understand, you know, that funding has been cut, and, you know, availability of the PCSOs, you know, they're quite stretched in what they're doing. But if, you know, even if they can't attend every meeting, you know, once every 6 months, and so we can ask these questions about the kind of crimes that are happening in our area, you know, even if there's like a minimum that they can do, or, you know, as I say, give us a little bit more information about the crimes that are happening, you know, on our doorsteps, basically.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll make sure that's chased up for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Perry.
There we go. Hi, good evening. How you doing? Just a quick one. At St Nicholas with Bolmston Community Council, we've not had a visit to one of our meetings a little bit longer than the other councils here. We're going back to about, well, before COVID. So early 2020, 2019, since we last had a visit. However, I want to thank our PCSO, Steve Davis, and the Crime Reduction Officer, Deb Elwood, for coming to our coffee mornings, which is much appreciated by council members and our residents who also attend those events. And I think we had a coffee morning with 40 people where Deb was actually present, which was particularly useful. And I wish they'll come to more of our coffee mornings. So we've got some more, and I'll invite them as in the past. So thank you for that. Obviously, we've mentioned the Aubrey Arms. The accident actually happened a little bit further west towards Tayronan, but there have been serious accidents by the Aubrey Arms in recent years. In fact, in a very short space of time, we've had 3 killed or seriously injured accidents on the A48, one on Tumble Hill, one in St Nicholas, and one at Tayronan. There are issues, and some people may have seen me being busy working alongside the A48, and in a very short space of time at night, you will see cars flying through, overtaking over solid white lines, overtaking where there are ghost islands. Ghost islands are providing no protection when there's no, there's no compliance with the law, and they're overtaking both ways over ghost islands. If you're there in the daytime in St Nicholas, we do on occasion have people obeying the speed limit, and they sort of drive a bit like this, if you can see, right? texting on phones the whole time, or you see delivery drivers with parcels on their steering wheel, standing on the A48 in St Nicholas, where we've got a school, obviously, is scary. And in fact, I've had some very personal close shaves, and I'm willing to show you the photographs where HGVs are passing the parked up parents on the A48, and they don't pull out, they don't slow down, they will pass at 30 miles an hour. And if you just happen to be stood next to a car, they will come right up to you within centimetres. We're not talking any safe distance, they will just charge through. And I won't mention the companies, but they have very, very large and heavy vehicles. So there was supposed to be a review of the guidance for setting local speed limits in Wales, which was due out at the end of 2023. It's now a new minister, and the new minister in the Welsh government has delayed the revised document, and we still have no idea when it's going to come out. And obviously, Bombleston, under current guidance, should have had a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit since at least 2009, and obviously we are waiting. Places like the Aubrey Arms, the Baffle House, and Tumble Hill, and they're turning out of Grants Fields onto the A48. Again, you're turning onto a 60-mile-an-hour road where we do have quite significant collisions in number and severity. So we are really waiting, and I'm glad Jane Hutt has written in. We are waiting on the Minister, Ken Skates, to actually publish that guidance so we can actually have correct speed limits in Bombleston and outside the pubs like the Aubrey Arms and the Baffle House. So that's sort of my report.
Is there a question?
Well, I think it's kind of important to sort of raise these, these serious collisions and, the delay in the Welsh government. So, yeah, I guess the question would be, what are your thoughts on the delay in setting speed limits? And obviously, you're not the expert on this.
That's really a question for the Welsh government. It's not a question for me as local inspector to cover in the Vale area. These decisions are made by highways, and it's really a question that needs to be geared towards the Welsh government. I can't comment on what the delays are. That's really a question you need to put to them, in correspondence to them.
Yeah, in terms of the dangerous driving, and I do see it does happen. We occasionally have the motorcyclist stop, or the van stop in St Nicholas, and in between St Nicholas and Bombleston. And if someone errs slightly over the speed limit, then they get a ticket. Our biggest problem isn't those who stray slightly above the speed limit; it's those that travel to immense great speeds, and GoSafe don't operate after 9 o'clock at night. And also those who overtake and those who travel through the village on their phone. Can we have some sort of more protection from those sort of behaviours, please?
Okay, yeah, that'll be passed on. The accident is being investigated at the moment. As I say, it's a tragic accident, and there will be fallout of that. Our road traffic department are aware of the accident, and there'll be patrols on that area. But in terms of the demand and in terms of the accident there, it's reported, and further resources will be put to that area. Exactly what's going to happen in the immediate future, in terms of any legislation of speed limits, etc., that's really a question for highways and a question for the Welsh government as well. But in terms of the recent accidents, yes, I'll pass it on to our road traffic policing units and ask them to patrol the area more together with GoSafe.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because also we recently lost a lamppost, which ended up over a footway, which doesn't encourage walking and cycling when you've got lampposts and cars. But we don't seem to get very much feedback on road accidents and what has happened. Perhaps that's something that the police could give us a bit more on.
That's something I'll look into for you.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parry. You're on mute.
Let's give it a go. How is that? An observation and an assurance. Firstly, Inspector Charles, I'd actually would like to say we have a really good representation from the police at our community council meeting. So I would like it noted that Jamie Williamson is our person. And he is, if he's not able to attend, he gives us updates and he's readily available to us. And I'm quite surprised to hear that that isn't the experience across the Vale, because it is something that we welcome and we value hugely. The assurance I want is, with the upcoming good weather, that the focus isn't solely on Barry and Roos, but actually we extend out to the Western Vale. I know with Operation Elstree that has happened, but it is a concern to residents. Many residents worry that they can't exit the village, particularly Ogmore by Sea and Southern Down, because of the influx of tourists. So simply really an assurance that that will get consideration. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, it will be given consideration. Obviously, the whole of the Vale coastline, it's not just particular areas. We're going to police. We have extra resources, and we will police the whole of the Vale coastline, in particular the tourist areas such as Southern Down and Ogmore by Sea, the beaches there. So it's they will receive appropriate police presence there in the summer.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you very much, and apologies for the noise. Just a couple of things. One thing I did mention, but you didn't come back to me, Inspector Charles, and that's obviously the e-bikes situation in Victoria Park. I just wondered, are we doing any sort of operations in those sort of areas, especially targeting people that obviously using them? Because my understanding, using e-bikes almost anywhere is illegal, very much. They're uninsurable. I just want to know what work SWP are doing about it. Clearly, it's a bit of an issue in certain areas of our communities, and often they go at high speeds, make very little noise, and I think it is a worry for the community, because like push bikes, often you've got something like a bell that you can hear in the distance and get out of the way sometimes, and that's helpful. And that perhaps maybe
the e-bikes,
that's fine.
Sorry, have you finished?
Yes,
Mr.
I have.
Wilson? Sorry, I cut across you then.
That's all right.
Okay. Yeah, the e-bikes are a problem. I acknowledge that. There have been work done by the Penarth neighbourhood policing team, sort of patrolling the areas. It's identifying who. The difficulty is stopping these e-bikes, which won't stop for you on occasions. They're not trained to actually pursue these vehicles in any way, and there are difficulties actually identifying who the offenders are, particularly if they're wearing clothing to disguise their identity, which quite often they do. It's appealing to the community as to who some of these offenders are, where the bikes are being housed, and on occasions, if we get that information, obviously they'll be paid a visit by the police, and if we have the relevant and necessary information, we can seize the bikes if they're involved in antisocial behaviour. So again, it's a collective thing, patrolling the area, information from the public, and then trying to identify who the offenders are, particularly if they're local people. Quite often, with the e-bikes in the Victoria Park, they are local individuals involved. So it's identifying who they are and appealing to the community. But we can always, again, I can speak to you on Thursday about that. We can appeal for information from the public.
Just for clarification, Inspector Charles, I'm talking about Victoria Park in Barry. Victoria Plainfields is in Penarth. Just for clarification, I'm talking about Victoria Park in Barry, and it was raised to me by Councillor Drake, who is one of the local members in that particular area of Barry.
Okay. Or again, it's the same answer there as well. It's always trying to identify who the individuals are. More than likely, they're going to be local people, and it's just sometimes we can patrol the area, but we can't always be there. But again, it's trying to identify who the regular corporates are, and where these vehicles are being kept, where they've been stored, and then we can seize the vehicles. So again, it's appealing to the community. If they have information about individuals involved in antisocial behaviour concerning these bikes, that information is provided to us, and we can act upon it from there.
And thank you, and I'll see you later on in the week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no more questions, I'd like to thank you for the update, and don't feel you have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you for that. We'll see you again in 3 months. Oh, hang on a minute, Councillor Perry.
Sorry, it's not actually for Gareth, it's for the chair. I just want to seek a little bit of clarification from the chair, because obviously when I was speaking, I got told to ask a question. I believe this is community liaison, not community question time. And therefore, we can actually say things and make suggestions without asking the question. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, but I think I was trying to make the point that what you're doing is you're giving us a lot of information that you're expecting Inspector Childs to take on, which he might not be able to keep up with your speed of delivery. So if you'd had a question, you could ask it, but otherwise, a lot of this would be better off on email.
Yeah, but then I've got other community councils, for example, Colwinston, also on the A48, and it's sometimes useful for us to communicate, and this meeting is a good way for town and community councils to learn and listen and communicate with one another.
Absolutely, I would encourage you to do that, but outside the meeting as well as in it. Okay, thank you very much, Inspector Childs. Can we move on now, please, to the South Wales Siren Rescue Service, although I think there may be a hitch here. Thank you, Inspector Childs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector Childs. Yes, Chair, I've had notification from Group Manager O'Keefe. I'm afraid he's unable to attend this morning, unforeseen circumstances have meant that he's had to address that issue quite urgently. But he has promised, with your permission, Chair, he will provide a written update as what he would like to, that he was planning to provide to to myself after the meeting, and I'll make sure that's forwarded to all members of the committee.
Thank you very much. Right, so item 6 then, please, is the Public Service Board verbal update. And I think this is going to be from Councillor Hadley, please.
Yes, it
If
is.
I may, Chair,
Thank
as
you,
well.
Chair.
Sorry, Mr. Hadley. I was just going to say, because obviously this is just for context for anybody who wasn't at the meeting, our last meeting, obviously we have now raised a recommendation as a committee to have a regular update from Mr. Hadley in his capacity as the Town and Community Council member, a representative on the Public Service Board. So this is our first meeting where we're introducing that to your agenda, and it will be a rolling item. And Councillor Hadley has kindly provided a written update. So I'll hand over to himself. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. I was asked to report back verbally, and I decided that there were probably a lot of others who didn't understand what the PSB was about. I hadn't even heard of it until I was asked to stand for election a few days before our last meeting, hence the note. In future, I'll endeavour to keep to a verbal report, but if there is too much for a verbal report, if the chair accepts, I may well put in a written report as well. I hope you've all read my note. The PSB doesn't make plans for all these bodies involved, but it does closely monitor them and to make sure that they are contributing to the long-term aims, which came out of the Act back in 10 years ago, whatever, and which the PSB is there to support. We did get some good feedback at the last meeting, and again I put that into my note, and I think the progress is quite good. And I think the monitoring is of the staff. There are quite a few people involved, and I think they are doing quite a good job. You may have a different view on what the board is meant to do, but that's what it's meant to do, is to monitor the plans of these other organisations and make sure the results are coming forward, and to give advice where necessary, where they can improve the situation. So I hope you've all read the document. I'm happy to take questions and suggestions, and where we as councillors can contribute to those objectives that were set down in the Wellbeing Act back in 2015 or whatever. So I'm take questions on what I've said, or take questions on what the board does. I'll try and answer them.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you for the written report, which was very interesting actually, because I think most of us are not really aware of what the Public Service Board does. Right, do I have any questions, please?
It frightened everybody off.
Well, yes, rather. What I was going to say is, can you pick out a couple of main points that impressed you at the meeting, so that people can have an idea of how it went, please?
I can't remember obviously the statistics that came up. I mean, the presentations were very, very, well, they were over comprehensive, and it was only afterwards that you could understand them. I mean, the important point is that charities and other people are coming in from outside the Wales as well, outside the Vale, and they are contributing to things like the living wage. And the work done on the living wage is obviously quite important to increase the standard of living within the Vale, and they are doing that successfully. So that's one of the things that came out, and the fact that there's a willingness across all these different parties to try and get a sort of well-being society rather than just a pure consumer society. Now, of course, in the face of our friend across the pond, Trump, we're obviously running in an opposite direction. But I'd hope that we can keep on our track and keep for a well-being society. You've got to have some consumer society, but to try and encourage a well-being society so everybody is involved in businesses and so on is a good thing. So, yeah, I think it's moving nicely.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Asbury.
Thank you. I only have one question, which I was wondering about when I read the report, and I think it might be a silly question. Can anybody attend as an observer?
No, as far as I know, I don't think so. No. I think if you've got anything to feed to it, then please send it through me, as I'm our representative.
Can you invite me as a guest just to observe?
I will find out.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder if we could ask Amy whether she knows anything about that.
Hello, Chair. As far as I'm aware, the meetings are by invitation only. I'm not sure whether they've had that request previously, but obviously, like as Mr. Hadley has advised, he can obviously go back and ask that, and then come back to Councillor Asbury. But I'm as far as I'm aware, the meetings are by invitation only, which is why we have the set representatives.
And as you saw, it's quite a complex structure as to who's actually a full member and invited and so on. And we're almost observers anyway, and that's sort of my role. But we are allowed to contribute.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have another question, please? No? Okay, well, thank you for your report. I think it's quite useful. I think people are a bit taken aback at the amount of detail, actually, because we're not really used to having these reports given to us in such detail. So I'm very pleased to see it. I think, actually, it'll probably raise more questions after the meeting than during the meeting. So could you tell me how far it... Pardon?
I can be emailed, of course, if there are questions, and I'll try and answer them.
That would be very helpful. What I was going to say is, how far in advance do you get the agendas, and whether it would be possible for you to circulate the agendas so people could ask, have relevant questions?
I don't know the answer to that because obviously I was very short notice last time. So I'll find out.
Right, that would be helpful. And if Amy could let us know, and then if we could see the agendas, people would be able to raise points. I mean, Anne has already talked about wanting to go to the meetings, and that looks as if it's not going to be possible, but it might be possible for people, representatives to community liaison, to make comments about the agenda items that come up. Would we be happy with that?
Perfectly happy, yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Right. Well, thank you very much for that report. I look forward to the next one. And thank you for that. So what we've got now then, please, is agenda item 7, which is local bus services in the Vale of Glamorgan. I'm not entirely sure who's going to be addressing this. I know we have some representatives from the bus company, so I'm going to hand over to Amy, who's probably got more information than me.
Thank you, Chair. You do have Kyle Phillips from the Vale of Glamorgan on the line for you. And you also have 2 representatives with you. I wonder if Kyle would like to come in to introduce our guest speakers.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I will introduce the representatives. I've got a few slides to share first, so if the chair is happy, I'll run through the presentation first.
Yeah, please, off you go.
Can you see the slides? Okay.
We're just waiting for them to come up.
Okay.
Kyle, if you give us one moment, my colleague will activate them. Have you selected the source, Kyle?
I'm trying
to
it
share.
out.
Which you want to share?
There we go.
Yes, they're on screen for me now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. So this is just an update on bus services in the Vale. It's 6 months since I gave the last update. With regard to funding for this coming financial year, we are still looking at a number of funding sources. We've got the bus network grant and the bus service support grant that come from Welsh Government, and that is just under £2.6 million. We've also then got our council budget, which is just under £500,000. And on top of that, then we've got Section 106, which we use for the Green Links Community Transport Scheme. But there's also currently an application in for shared prosperity funding to see if we can access that for the upcoming financial year. There haven't been any change or many changes since the last update 6 months ago, but there are a number of changes, timetable changes that are coming up. So the 88, there's been major timing issues on the 88. It hasn't been able to run to time, so an application has gone in to amend the timetable. It does mean there will be reduced frequency by 3 return journeys. But it will make the service more reliable and it will be turning up at bus stops on time. We've got the 303 service. We've got some minor changes to that service to provide improved reliability. Similar with the 304 then, because the service is linked together, so some minor changes on the 304. We've then got the X2 service, which will be running via Ely and into Cardiff bus station instead of its current route through Cardiff Bay. There's going to be a major issue when Cardiff Council start work on their Cardiff Bay Crossrail, which means the buses won't be able to get access from the bay into the city centre. So we've put that change in, or the company have put that change in early. And there's been some revised timings, and also it's being unlinked from the 303 and 304. It was one bus doing 3 routes at one time. So the X2 will now act on its own. As of last Thursday, the Green Links Community Transport Service G1 got back up and running, operating on a Thursday and Friday at the moment. The main difference with that service as opposed to our normal Green Link service is that people can use their concessionary bus passes on it to travel for free. So we started last Thursday and we're going to run and we hope to introduce more days then going forward as demand increases. With regard to promotion of bus services, I'm sure you've probably seen in the press that from September, Welsh Government are introducing a £1 single bus fare for those between 16 and 21. So still haven't had a great detail on exactly how that works, but I assume it'll be through the My Travel Pass scheme. And we've also put an application in for funding again this year, as we do most years, to upgrade bus shelters and put more e-timetable displays in across the Vale. Hopefully we'll find out some news on that pretty soon. And like Amy mentioned, there are bus operators on the call today. Unfortunately, Gareth Stevens from Cardiff Bus, he messaged late this afternoon to say he was unwell and unable to attend. But we do have David Thomas from First Cymru and Jonathan Coles from Adventure Travel on the call, which was a recommendation from the last meeting. So any questions that members wish to raise with them, they could do so. And yeah, that's the brief overview. And I'm happy to take any questions. And likewise, I assume the bus operators are as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Haynes, followed by Councillor Campbell, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Carol. First off, I'd like to welcome the new service running from St Athan to Cowbridge. If we can extend that in future years, it would be a great thing. But on the rest of it, what are these minor changes? It's a perfect opportunity in this meeting to share information, and then we get minor changes, and I do wonder what they are, particularly on the 304 and the 303.
Yeah, I would say if David wants to jump in on that one with as it's a first company service, I believe when it's minor changes, it's just some time changes to get to bus stops, and it's less of a clock-based timetable. And I assume that's the change. But yeah, David, if you could jump in on that one.
Yeah, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to join the meeting this evening. Yeah, so what Kyle is saying is there's been some issues because the bus is interworked with the 303. So when it's coming from Landwit and then going on to Barry into Cardiff, it's been running late. So the scheduling team have looked at where the time is distributed across the whole journey, and they just moved it sections so that it could be like there's 2 minutes extra in one part of the journey that's needed in the other. So that'll give it a better flow as it's running through. Yeah. So
Okay,
that's the idea behind that.
Because a minor change could mean, the worry is a minor change would mean you might lose one.
No, there's no change to the service. It's just
a timing issue.
It's moving across. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Hi, Kyle. Go on.
Hello.
Hiya. This is something that's been mentioned by a couple of officers in committee meetings and forums that I've been in, is the potential for school transport in the future to not be using council services anymore, but to move on to public bus services. And I was just wondering, first of all, is there any truth to any of that? And secondly, how that would potentially be managed if we're looking at reliability of services that we have now, and would that be the implementation of new routes and things going forward? Obviously, I know that that is a very much a young idea, but if it is an idea, it's something that obviously we would need to be looking at, because my love of public bus services, and very much, expanding the Western Vale and getting people onto public transport. So when I heard about this, it was very much something that I kind of jumped on and wanted to get on board with, because it would expand our public bus services. But then we're still talking about the reliability of services a year after the implementation of the changes and the new bus providers. So I was just wondering, is there any truth in this, where it's going to go, and what kind of the future implementation is of this?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Campbell. Yes, there is truth in it. We are already doing it with pupils going to Stanwell from Sully. We piloted it last year. We took the year 12 and 13 pupils and put them on the 94 service. It seems to have gone pretty well. So we are investigating what other current services, not new services, what current services we can do the same on. And then we'll look to see, the issue will be obviously funding. And like I mentioned, the money we're spending at the moment, over £3 million. We won't have any access to any further funding. So it would be up to us to see if there's any negotiation with operators to put on duplicate services at certain times in the day. So yes, we are looking at this because, as you'll know, we've got a massive overspend in school transport. So we're considering everything. Trains, I won't say trains, planes and automobiles, but we're considering the train as well as the bus. And we're looking at what options we've got there as well, because that does come at a cheaper cost than running a contracted bus service, yes.
Okay, so what would kind of be the timescale that we would be looking at for this? Obviously, you say that we run, trial services, but what would be the timescale? Is this kind of like a short timescale thing, or is this kind of?
So at the moment, we're looking at what we can do for September. But like I say, that is on the more regular bus services that we know if one leaves, there's another one coming in 50 minutes. So in your particular area, as you know, it's an hourly service. So we wouldn't be looking at that at the moment. So that would probably be another couple of years off. And like I say, that's going to be open to negotiation with the bus operators as to whether they can put duplicate buses on if we buy season tickets from them.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Phil.
Okay. No worries.
Okay, thank you. We're moving around here. So let's have a look. Councillor Payne, please.
I'm in. There we go. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kyle. I've had several queries from mostly elderly people in my ward around getting to the Heath Hospital. So there's no direct bus. So it's quite problematic for them, particularly if they are not that able to walk very, very far. So they would have to change in Cardiff, and then there's quite a walk in Cardiff to get the next bus up to the Heath. So do we have any plans to have more of a joined up service? Obviously, I'm in the east end of Barry, but all parts of the Vale, because some go east and some go west, hospital-wise. But I'm mainly concerned now with getting to the Heath Hospital.
Yeah. There's no immediate plans. Funnily enough, it was a question for Gareth from Cardiff Bus this evening, because I did raise it with him recently. I was hoping he was going to be at the meeting to discuss it, but unfortunately he's not. But at the moment, any change or anything we're doing with buses, it comes at a cost, and there is no further funding available from Welsh Government for us to look at any changes. But having said that, we can still have discussions with the operators to see what they can do within the funding that we've got. So, you'll have to watch this space on that one, because I need to speak to Gareth when he's well again.
Yeah, because the 95 used to just go straight, and as my mum called it, the lovely bus, she could go straight into the Heath. And it does cut down the independence, and it is a bit tricky to get there, really. So that would be great if you could look into that.
There was the issue, I think I mentioned it when I updated 6 months ago, that the 7 became a Cardiff Council bus service, and they tendered it, but then they didn't tender the whole of the service, and we have to have a bit to-ing and fro-ing with them until we got something set up. But unfortunately, that 95 as it was doesn't exist anymore.
All right, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Phillips.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Good evening, Kyle. I had a meeting about 3 weeks ago, Kyle, with Gareth from Cardiff Bus. And you may remember that we were looking at perhaps enhancing the 305 service that we've got running out of the health centre to possibly go around Castle Drive. We did a short survey with some people living there, and they were in favour of us trying to get a service to go around there. Gareth was looking into it, and I was wondering if you would meet with myself in Dennis Power so we can have a look at around Castle Drive at the possibility of getting this bus to go around there. We wouldn't want it to go around there late at night like it does up to the health centre at 8 o'clock. But certainly Gareth was quite confident that we could possibly get it to serve the Castle Drive area, sort of up until about 6 o'clock in the evening type of thing. It's a good service actually, that. So would you agree to meet with me in Dennis and we can have a walk around?
Yeah, of course I will. No problem at all. I'll drop you an email with some dates and times and we can work it from there.
Oh, okay. Maybe with the question that the last councillor mentioned about the 95 service, I think that when we discussed this with Gareth regarding the cutting out of the service to the Heath Hospital, it was because since the introduction of the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, it was getting sort of held back between Barry. It now, I see it's running out from Barry Island again, But again, they're still having this problem of trying to keep time getting into, the Cardiff bus station. So that might answer why it doesn't go through and out of the Heath like it used to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the other operators would say on the call that there's always a problem getting into and out of Cardiff, just to traffic congestion, and that is a lot of the problems with the services is that leg of the trips, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks, Carl, for that. Yeah, I'll drop you an email and whatever.
Yeah.
I've also got another one for David Thomas from First Cymru Chair. Yeah. Good evening, David.
Good evening.
Yeah, it's just a comment more than anything. We did have a local transport group meeting in Dennis Powys where your 304 service runs through. First of all, I must say that it's a really reliable service and it's very welcome. The only thing I would say, could you perhaps ask your drivers on it, especially at night, to put some heaters on the bus?
Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem.
There might be only 1 or 2 passengers on the very late ones, but, it would appreciate if they put the heaters on.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Hawkins, please.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm not sure whether I'm Kyle or First Bus, but it's about the 303 service from the Western Vale into the interchange at Lantwick. Currently, when it's on time, it times very well with train service and get off the bus in Lantwick or get almost instantly onto a train for Barry or Cardiff. The revised timetable from the 27th of April, not so bad in the mornings, but in the afternoons and evenings, the interchange between the 303 and the train service is really poor. Gets there just after the train has left and left with a 50 minutes or so wait for the next train. Isn't there any sort of coordination between buses that go to an interchange and trains that then leave the interchange? It seems we'll step backwards. We've lost that link between the 303 and the trains. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want me to take it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So as Kyle said, it's on a clock face timetable. So it's not like on the hour, on the half hour. The way for us to get the reliability right was to put in this clock face timetable. And yeah, unfortunately, then as you said in the evening, the trains are left. So that's something I can take away to the scheduling guys to look at, but there's no guarantee that it can be changed because we put these changes in for the reliability. Is that okay?
Okay. Councillor Hawkins, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it just doesn't feel very reliable when you've got to wait for 50 minutes in Lantwick interchange when the shelters are so poor in the winter. Whereas it's a real backward step, I think, for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Where have we got to? Councillor Wilson, you're on there twice, unless there's 2 Councillor Wilson.
No, different Wilson, Malcolm Wilson.
Ah, this one, Councillor Wilson. Right, okay.
The one who writes horrible letters. Kyle knows what I'm going to raise, because I've had a meeting with him. This is a policy issue, so it's for you, Chair, and I guess any Cabinet members are on. And Kyle mentioned it in his presentation that the 106 money is being used to fund revenue funding for the Green Links. Whilst Green Links, I'm sure, is a very important service, the Vale have taken 382,000 from across the community councils, the 106 money, and we in Cowbridge have particularly now focused, I assume Lantwick and Barry and Penarth will, following placemaking. 106 money is the seed corn for a lot of our plans, and I'm a bit alarmed that this is going to continue. Being parochial just for a second, Cowbridge has lost 82,000 by far and away the most that's been taken as 106 money. I think Sully's next, and I can't remember the others, but it runs down. I think Barry's about 35,000. So what I'm asking people to take away is for a debate to be had at Cabinet, I guess, about how the Green Links is funded and actually resist taking 106 money. Because for all of us, This should be legacy projects that actually last a period of time. It's capital money coming in, and it should be spent on capital schemes, not on subsidising the service. Because once that money's gone, it's gone, and there's nothing we can do about it. So it's a bit of a cri de coeur, really, I suppose, in that sense.
Okay, thank you. I'll take that away.
Okay. It'd be useful if we get some feedback. We do meet Lucy on a regular basis at Cambridge now on our placemaking implementation. So we will be continually asking and watching where that money goes. So it'd be useful to get some feedback from wherever it comes back from in terms of the cabinet or the scrutiny committees or wherever it comes. So we know what's actually happening. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sykes.
Thank you, Chair. Kyle, can you just confirm that the G1 is only going to run on a Thursday and Friday?
At present, yes. And
Okay.
But what we're planning on doing as demand grows, we'll introduce it on the other days. It's just we have to vary it with the traffic commissioner to run any further days. But yes, the plan is to get it back as it was.
Okay, and just to clarify, pre-booking necessary still?
Yes, yes.
But concessions are now valid because they weren't before, and that's caused lots of problems with residents in the village.
The ticket machines are working up and running, so you can use your concessionary passes, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Hi there, Carl. Something that's been previously mentioned is transportation between areas and hospitals. I'm in Landock, right near the hospital, which is fantastic in our area. But lots of residents have been asking if there's any future plans for connection between the two hospitals. I know that staff are able to use a bus that connects one to the other. We've inquired about us, residents being able to use it on an ad hoc basis, and we've been told point blank no. So there does seem to be quite a demand for a bus service that will take our residents nearer to Heath Hospital than they currently can get. Any plans or anything?
It's the same answer I gave earlier. It'll be a funding issue, but we will continue to have those conversations with the bus operators to see if there is anything they could do within the funding envelope that we've currently got.
Yeah, I mean, it comes up time after time. It's obviously quite an important issue to a lot of people, but I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mark Wilson, please.
Thank you. Just a couple of points, really. One to Carl, principally. I noticed we got the 305 and the 88 that go to Pullenhoff Pier. And I just wondered perhaps if we could do a bit of publicity with the operators. I know we've got two operators involved in those services. One's here today, Adventure Travel, and clearly Cardiff Buses, the other operator in the 305. Obviously, the routes are rather long, and I understand why. But clearly, I think publicity will be helpful for both those services. I just wonder what we are doing and what we aim to do on that. And my second point is, again, another call. I know it's already been mentioned today, and I've mentioned it before. It's about betting connections to the Heath Hospital. I mean, I have got concerns that people have to cross St Mary's Street, which is not the easiest street in the world to cross, to get buses from the interchange to Wyndham Crescent to walk across, to get the number, I think it's number 7 bus, to go to, and it's not a quick route either. I just wondered perhaps what we could do about this. Clearly, I know they're not on this call, but I just wondered perhaps, Carl, if we could raise it again as an issue.
Yeah, Councillor Wilson, I'll raise it with Gareth Stevens about the Heath again. I'll do that when he's back in work. And promotional and publicity. Yeah, now that we know where we are with the budgets for this coming financial year, we'll be sitting with the operators and working out what we can do to do promotionally. I know that last year we did the £1 fare on the 303, didn't we, for Ogmore? So we'll look at what else we can do that I expect particularly targeted in the Esplanade. So yeah, we'll be doing some work with that over the next couple of months.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Parry.
Hello there. Wondering if it's at all possible to do a tiny tweak to the 303. Residents in St Bride's Major have asked whether the bus currently comes from Wick, gets to the top of St Bride's Major and understandably does a left down to Southern Down. I think it's probably impossible, but whether you can go down the high street of St Bride's Major, I'm not entirely sure how the bus would make a turn, but actually have a stop at the other end of St Bride's Major. I've been asked to ask.
Right.
Yeah, that I can tell you that wouldn't be a possibility. There's no. I live up this way, so when I go to work, St Bride's, there's nowhere down there for the bus to turn around. You'd have to reverse off the main road. And that's not something that we try. We
reverse. Yeah, I mean, it's not great. You'd have to go through the village. You'd have to reverse. There is a reversing area. But I just ask you to look at it, and then that's great.
Yeah, it's not something that we encourage our drivers to do, is to reverse. That's, you know, if the road is somewhere to turn around, if there's a loop or something, maybe different. But our area is very tight, isn't it? Anyway, on that end.
It's exceptionally tight. Unfortunately, what it fundamentally takes out is a large part of the older residents accessing the 303 bus, which they would find understandably very, very valuable. But thank you anyway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, Amy, did you want to come in?
If I may, Chair, because Councillor Shaw was trying to join us earlier from Llandown Community Council. She was having technical difficulties, but if I may, she's given me a very brief note with her comments that she wished to raise this evening on the X2 route, which connects Bridgend and Western Vale with both Cardiff Bay and Cardiff, and no other connection exists with the Cardiff Bay from Bridgend and Western Vale, to her knowledge. Her 2 points were that she just wished to raise with operators this evening is that the route changes added a commute time of 15 to 20 minutes for year 12 and 13 pupils who use the X2 to go to Cavard, which is the Performing Arts Academy, daily. And also that teens will use the direct service to go to the Millennium Centre, cinema and restaurants in the evenings, which the proposed changes would be detrimental to that age group in particular. So she just wished me to raise those comments and whether or not there was anything the guests or Kyle would like to comment on that X2 route change.
Okay. I'm happy to come in on the second one. I did mention it in my presentation. The issue we're going to have is when Cardiff start building the Crossrail service later this summer, we will not be able to get buses from the bay through to the bus station. So once the Cardiff Crossrail is in, that will then, people will go to the bus station and then they'll be using the Crossrail to get through to the bay, which is obviously the point of that scheme.
Okay, I don't know if that answers the question. Okay, Councillor Phillips, and then Councillor Penn.
Yeah, just another one, another question for Kyle, Chair. Kyle, you mentioned with regards, obviously the costs for school transport are obviously very high. I noticed that Ysgol for example, there are now an increased amount of taxis bringing children into the school. I just wondered, when you say you're looking into all this, would it not be, and you know, obviously what investigations you made, is using more sort of minibuses or something like that to bring the children in, rather than have, you know, sort of a dozen taxis? Can you highlight something on that?
We have looked at a number of options. We've looked at larger buses, more minibuses. The issue we generally have is with the needs of the pupils. They can't go into those larger type of vehicles. So it is predominantly taxi based. And obviously we've got quite a lot of wheelchair transport going there as well. But yeah, we have looked at the larger buses, but unfortunately it's not workable for the pupils in the school.
Yeah, okay, thank you,
Okay.
Kyle, for that.
Can I just say that we are looking at using school minibuses? I mean, Kyle will know this. Using school minibuses from Ysgolor in order to transport some children, but some of the children's needs and physical requirements are such that they're always going to need specialist transport, which is not readily available and is expensive to hire. So, you know, they are looking at ways of bringing that transport bill down. But it is very difficult. I mean, if you've seen the requirements some of the children have with transport, it's fairly obvious why parents can't manage it and why the very specialised transport is needed. I'm sure Kyle will be agreeing with me on this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Perry.
You're on mute, Councillor Perry.
Oh, sorry, I've got two buttons. Apologies. Right, so just following up on what Councillor Janet Shaw just said, because obviously the X2 goes through both St Nicholas and Bonwolston, and I've had quite a bit of feedback that people would prefer to go down the bay, but obviously for some period of time that won't be possible due to the new railway link. Interestingly, the change of route does give better access to St David's and potentially the Heath Hospital as well. But I think that once that new section of light rail is built, we need to have a review and reconsider the X2 going back via Cardiff Bay, because it has been popular, although of course we wish more people would use it.
Yeah.
And in fact, some people didn't.
You're breaking
5-6
up.
years it's been going that way. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me okay? Have I broke? Yeah, you're okay. So yeah, that's just the point to sort of say that Janet Shaw isn't the only person a little bit sorry to see the X2 route change.
Yeah, and yeah, we will look to review it once the Crossrail section's been complete.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Asprey.
Hi, Kyle. Obviously, my concern is school transport, as you and I have spoken very often about it, and you've been very helpful. Is there a breakdown on which schools have more funding provided than others for school transport? As example, Ysgolor, they have no choice but to have transport laid on for quite a number of children there.
Yeah.
Is all that done on the spreadsheets, that which monies is going to which schools? How much money is going to a special school? How much money is going to the comprehensive schools? And of course, my bugbear is Ysgol Penygath.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to see, where do you have the allocations of funds? Is it on
So
the spreadsheet somewhere?
It's all, yeah, we've got a budget monitoring sheet and we can see how much money or what we're paying for each school's transport. We can see that. But obviously what we base it on is whether they qualify for school transport or not. Yes. So it's not like there's an allocation per school. It's just if they qualify, we've got to set transport up. But we have, yes, we can provide breakdowns per school. But yeah, that won't really give you any worthwhile data unless you've got the number of pupils, the vehicle sizes and everything else to go with it, so you can see exactly what that money's being spent on.
Yeah, I just wonder sometimes, whereas when you talk about £3 million going on school transport, would a particular school cost £3 million? Obviously, that's something for me to look at, but I wouldn't mind having a look at those figures, if that's okay.
I can get a breakdown sorted, that's no problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
Bye.
Can I just come in there and ask though, and how helpful are those figures going to be? Because of course we don't see the context.
Well, we don't really know until we look at them. I mean, a councillor was saying earlier from Cowbridge about the S106 funds being used for green links. And I've been looking into figures like that as well. I'm very interested in figures across the board. And until I see them, I'm not always sure what I can do with them. So when I see figures, I know what I can do with them. Does that make sense? Does to me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
Cal will provide what he can. All right, so are there any other questions about buses this evening, please? No? Can I say how useful this has been, actually? And I think that it's been an opportunity for people to raise questions that otherwise might not have come to our attention. So I would like to think that we can ask representatives from the bus services, and Kyle as well, obviously, to come and give us a report. Again, not necessarily next month, but certainly within the next year or so, because I think it's been very helpful. So I'm going to propose that we ask them to come back, say in a year. And is anybody happy to support that proposal? Yeah, I've got Councillor Wilson and Councillor Perks, who I assume are going to agree with me.
Yeah, and also like a report coming from Transport for Wales regarding the railway services as well. I think that would be useful in the future plans.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much, both of you. Okay, moving on to our attenders on the bus item. Please don't feel you have to stay until the end of the meeting. Thank you. Item 8, which is the play sufficiency assessment. I'm not sure who's leading on this.
That's Karen Davis, who's on the line, Chair, for you.
Okay.
Karen, are you able to? There you go.
Good evening. Thank you for the time to attend the meeting. It's only going to be a brief discussion, really, just to raise awareness around the place efficiency assessment. The report I submitted has provided very basic information because the aim is that if available, we would like town and community councillors to attend a place efficiency assessment workshop that we're looking to host with Play Wales. So the place efficiency assessment is a duty set out by the Welsh Government, and it places a duty on all local authorities to assess and secure sufficient play opportunities for children in their area. And town and community councils can obviously make a huge contribution to that process because they've got a range of knowledge around the area and they're the voice of their residents, and they're well placed to be play champions for the communities. So as part of that process, we did host a workshop back before Christmas in November, and we had representation from Wick Community Council at that workshop. Unfortunately, I think the other town and community councils weren't able to attend. So we want to make sure that they have got a voice to be heard in this assessment process. So we've sent out a play in the community survey, which was sent out on the 25th of February to all town and community council representatives. And we're asking if you can take the time to just answer the questions that are in that survey. We're trying to find out a little bit about any consultation that's taken place in your area over the last 2 years that may help contribute towards the place efficiency process. And look at things such as the places where children play in your community. You know, have you got good open spaces? Have you got parks? Are the parks suitable? Do they need upgrading? Have you got issues with traffic in your area? Have you got active travel routes? So the place efficiency covers a whole host of areas. And there's 4 main themes in the place efficiency assessment, which covers population, which looks at the age, the needs of children and children of different backgrounds. There's the places where children play theme, which, as I mentioned, looks at active travel, open spaces, parks, traffic, schools. There's the supervised play provision and workforce development section, which looks at things such as the availability of play schemes or staff play provision, and also how we train the workforce and what opportunities are available to train up community volunteers, young people to become play leaders. And then there's the theme around policy, synergy, engagement, advocacy, and information. So, are we able to provide events to raise awareness about the benefits of play? Have we got any campaigns that we can introduce to raise awareness amongst both professionals and the residents? And how we can link up our policies and synergy, think through things such as the corporate plan, the wellbeing plan, the public health, Cardiff and Vale Public Health Good Food and Movement Plan. So it covers a whole host of areas. And we really want the town and community council's contribution to that. Whilst the place efficiency assessment is undertaken every 3 years, the process is ongoing. So, the play development action plan is an ongoing process which we can keep adding to and contributing to. So I suppose the ask today is, if you have the chance, please can you have a look at the survey that's been sent out? We've set a deadline of the 14th of April, but we can look to extend that if there is a need. And also, if you could consider sending a representative to the workshop that we're hosting on the 29th of April. Play Wales have kindly given up their time for free to attend the workshop, and they'll lead on that and provide you with more of a context around the place efficiency process and some ideas of how town and community councillors can, help work with the council and other voluntary organisations and partners to try and put in place play opportunities where we can. What I will say is that there is very little funding that accompanies the place efficiency assessment. It's a duty that Welsh Government have placed on us, but haven't necessarily given any funding to enable progress to be made on that. So I think the whole point of the process is around how we can work together to maximise the resources that we have. And that could be resources in the sense of staffing, it could be in the sense of community volunteers, it could be that, training, and it could also be financial resources. So it's just working together really to try and improve opportunities where we can. So in relation to the workshop, we have got a date set of the 29th of April. We haven't set a time because we're willing to look at a time convenient to enable as many town and community councillors as possible to attend. So I think part of the point of coming tonight is to try and find out if there is an interest in the workshop, and if so, when the best time is for that to be held. It was a very brief whistle-stop tour because, as they say, that workshop is around raising more awareness. So are there any questions or any comments?
Okay, can I kick off by saying that we haven't had enough notice of this. You're asking for submissions to be in a week today. And I mean, we're fortunate that Penarth Town Council, for example, will meet on Thursday, but it's not on the agenda. So we'll have to carve out time to discuss it. So I'm a bit concerned that one of the reasons you're not getting responses is people simply don't have the time to do that. And the police efficiency workshop, I think really you need to set a time. And if they're going to come, otherwise you're just going to be inundated with people saying, oh, 10 o'clock, no 11 o'clock, no 3 o'clock, etc. And then you'll never please everybody. So I think you need to be the people making that decision with your experts. So I'm a bit concerned about our inability to respond and have these discussions. So I don't know if it's I don't know what to propose really, or whether you've got anything you could propose in order to get more participation. I mean, I'm going to bring Councillor Hawkins in and then Councillor Campbell, and then perhaps you can have a think about it while they're talking.
Chair, if I may as well, just to say that obviously the survey has been publicised with all clerks of Town and Community Council since the 25th of February. So I completely respect what you're saying in terms of responding following this meeting, but it may be that clerks are already in the process of collating their response. So it's a case of just a reminder to submit rather than starting from scratch. So I just wanted to make that point on behalf of Karen.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Hawkins and then Councillor Campbell.
I just wanted to say how useful I found the workshop that I did attend that Karen set up earlier on this year. And in passing, I wanted to say that working with Karen and Play Development team has made difference to the people and children in our village, particularly since COVID. Every community council should, in my view, be taking advantage of what the Play Development team has to offer. Help with funding, help with training, help with actually providing services. It's not a big enough service, but it's a great service when it's available, and we all ought to be involved and supported. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
We don't have a town and community council in Ruth. So how can we get involved?
I will make contact with you direct, Councillor Campbell. So apologies for that. That was obviously an oversight on our part. In relation to the question that Councillor Birch mentioned around moving forward, what can we do? We recognise as part of the place efficiency that town and community councils are a partner that we need to engage with more. So actually, when speaking to Play Wales around this this area, is that an action will be as basic as we will now start to liaise more with the town and community councils in relation to the place efficiency assessment. And because it's an ongoing process, and Welsh Government recognise that the assessment is a snapshot at that point in time. So they're looking for us to sort of assess. So, for example, we have to rank it as red, amber or green. So if we're saying that at the moment our communication and our liaison and our interactions with community, town and community councils aren't as strong as we would like them to be, you know, from our point of view, maybe we're not working enough with town and community councils, we will identify that as an action moving forward, and we fully intend to do that and put that in as an action. And then the survey is asking you really is, do you want to be involved in that interaction moving forward? So, and what that will then do is give us a chance to meet with you individually as a town and community councils to discuss your needs and how we can potentially work together. As Councillor Hawkins alluded to, we're a team of two, so it's not, we haven't got huge capacity. But what we will commit to is anybody who completes the survey and says they would like to have a meeting with us to discuss potential opportunities to work together moving forward. That's what we will do, and we will look to meet and discuss what we can do, because we know each area is unique. We know you've each got different barriers, you've each got different strengths, and the survey is actually said, can you let us know your top 3 good things about your area for playing, and let us know your top 3 challenges for playing. And we know in one area it could be, and we've had some responses already. We've had 6 responses so far. Some of them are responding that they've got lovely open spaces, they've got the local coastline. Others, they haven't got a coastline, they've got traffic issues, they've got speeding traffic. So we know that the issues are different across the Vale, which is why for the action plan, it's going to be a basic. Initially, we're going to liaise with those town and community councils and then look to develop those actions further. And the action plan is an annual one. So we can, as we have those meetings and develop further, we can then put more specific actions in. So hopefully that explains a little bit more. And I do apologise with the timing. We set the workshop in November, and for whatever reason, as I say, we only had one town and community council represented. And I think perhaps we've, maybe I should have been a bit more proactive in trying to follow that up a bit quicker. And I've probably left that a little bit late. So that's apologies on my behalf on that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Karen, I think it's also might be a good suggestion that you bring this communication to community centre representatives as well. Mm-hmm. I know that Kevin Parsons and Dave Nevitt would have those details. And I would think, you know, obviously, I know you work very closely with those people, and perhaps maybe you could then liaise with them and take that forward as well, because I think that would be helpful.
I will. Thank you for that. Dave is part of the place efficiency. He's my line manager, so he's fully aware of the place efficiency. But I think this is why these type of meetings are really useful for me, because it's helping to form those, thinking of a wider partners that maybe we haven't considered in the first place. So I will make sure that is done.
Okay, Councillor Parry.
Hello there, thank you. Never heard of you, but fantastic. Just given the fact that we're approaching the Easter break, I would strongly recommend that you perhaps offer an extension to the return of the survey. If you've only had 6 responses so far, there's an opportunity there to send us all a reminder and perhaps a short extension, because I know that certainly we would be delighted to respond. Thank you.
I will do. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anyone else have a comment, please? No? So if you could send us out a time that you think appropriate for the meeting on the 29th, and I will make sure someone is there from Penarth Town Council, which is, you know, my council, and I'm sure everyone on the call who obviously comes from a town and community council, would be happy to do that as well. Because as I say, I wasn't aware of this either. So presumably some officer is filling it in on our behalf, and I wasn't aware of it. So I think that would be really useful. So I'd like to think that everyone here on this call is going to be taking the glad tidings back of what was it, the 29th of April, wasn't it?
Yes.
And Amy will let us know the date. Sorry, not the date, the time, and it will presumably be on Teams.
Will it be helpful?
If I may, Chair, sorry, if I may, are we suggesting that that Karen send out an invitation directly to the workshop on the 29th to all of the representatives on the committee? Is the committee happy for that to happen?
I don't know. Committee, are you happy for that to happen, or would you prefer it to go out to town and community clerks? Or both?
Because obviously your recommendations today are the first one is obviously asking everybody on the call today to give a reminder to their relevant clerks in response to responding to the survey. And then the second is that nominate a representative be nominated from each town and community council via Karen for notification. But obviously what you were suggesting, Chair, is if Karen is going to suggest a time, she might as well send the invitation at the same time. So I'm just wondering how far the committee would like to go in terms of how Karen follows up.
Okay, so if Karen is going to send out a time, I think she could also send the time to the community, the council clerk, and also to the representative on this call, because even if they don't want to come, perhaps they could alert other people to the importance of this. Is that okay, Karen? Okay. Karen, did you want to come back on that?
If you could come onto screen, Karen, through your activation button.
Sorry. Would it help if I let you know the ones that we have received responses from? So, or
if you've already had responses from some, then I think if you just did a blanket email to all the town and community councils, that would, yeah, you know, and then in future you've got the email tree there, haven't you?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, and I would recommend, Karen, that would go as a diary marker, and as obviously then it's automatically in people's diaries for that point, and you could obviously copy in the clerks and the representatives on the committee this evening.
Well done. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, I haven't got any other business. I don't know if you are aware of any, please, Amy.
No, Chair, nothing to myself. If I may, just to clarify, obviously we will tweak that second recommendation for you then in terms of sending the diary marker, but the first one is as per, just to ask all the representatives this evening to liaise with their clerk about the survey.
Yes, yes. And
I'll be happy to get a seconder on that, please.
Right, can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Helen Payne.
Thank you.
Councillor. All right, we've got three actually, so excellent. Spoilt for choice there. Okay, unless there's anything else, then please, if we could have the date of the next meeting. I think it's July, isn't it?
Yes, Chair, the next meeting is the 3rd of July at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all then. Good night.
Thank you, Chair.